Well, hello friends, this here's February 15th, 2016. It's good to see everybody today. Well, today I was going to talk about this Judge Scalia, I guess, dying, and I just had a rigmarole going on here with the sheriff. As most of you know, I come out here in my car and do videos all the time. Now, a lot of times I'm on my own property when I do this, but every once in a while I'll come out here to the park. We have a nice little park here, and there's some pine trees and stuff. Some of the videos that you see me, I'm at the park. Well, I've been in this little town for about 3 years, and over that period of time I've been stopped 6 times by the sheriff asking me what I'm doing. Today they didn't stop me. He probably ran my license and said, "Oh, that's the same guy we keep stopping over and over again." And the last time he did it, I said, "What's up?" And he says, "Oh, well, you look suspicious." And I said, "Okay, well, how was I suspicious?" He said, "Well, when you pulled in here and you parked, you turned your light off right away." And I said, "Well, sir, when I turn the engine off, my lights automatically go off. That's how the lights work these days." And he said, "Well, we got to check. We have people coming out here and just parking." I said, "Sir, this is a park, and this is why I came here, to enjoy the beautiful scenery and park." Because at that time I wasn't making a video. That time he pulled me over, I was just looking at the stars. It was in the evening, and it was about 9 o'clock. And the park stays open until 11. And he said, "Well, we've had, there's kids come out here and they drink and stuff." And he says, "You're not a kid." And I said, "No, I'm not a kid. And second of all, even if the kids came out here and parked, unless you saw them drinking, why would you stop them?" I said, "Do you know why the young people come out here to the park and get together and talk and chat? Because they have absolutely nothing else to do. They live in a town where you provide nothing whatsoever for them to do. And so they're doing something wholesome and coming out here, and they're in high school." So, you're going to harass them out here and tell them, go home. You want them to stay home? They're in high school. They got to go do something and mingle. Talk to each other. Have friends. There's nothing else to do. There's no theater in this town. And he said, "Well, I said, "Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much." And he left. But I just threw that up as a side note, but I think it's kind of hilarious. I mean, I have insurance and license and, a newer vehicle. I don't know why they would just keep constantly. I think about 6 times now they've pulled me over just because I was parked. And I wasn't there for very long. I'll stay for an hour at the most, just looking at the stars sometimes. Anyway, we live in a crazy world, friends, and I mean, the time before this one, I was out at my property, and I was, I don't have a house there yet, and but I was out there looking around, and it had gotten dark, and I was taking off to go home. Sure enough, the sheriff is out there on the same road. It's like he's following me around. He pulls me over. "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing nothing. I'm going home." "Where are you coming from?" I said, "You saw me pull out of my property." "Well, how do I know you bought that property?" "What's the address?" I said, "Sir, there's no address. It's just a piece of property with some trees on it. There's no address." "Well, that's kind of funny. There's no address." I said, "No, there isn't any address as far as I know." I gave him my license, but that didn't seem like that was enough to suit him. He still wanted to know what I was doing out there. I explained to him I just bought the property. And he said, "Well, we got people running around out here, and they're, just doing things no good and so forth." And I said, "It's just a field, right? It's just a field. And you already know what I told you, that I just purchased the property." I gave him the phone number to the people that I bought it from, but he wasn't interested in calling that number. He just wanted to ask me more about what I was doing. It's just insane. Finally, I said, "Sir, I've told you everything I can tell you. If you really want to know for certain, you can either go to the courthouse in the morning and find out that I've, my name's on the deed, or you could call this number and ask them, and they'll tell you that I'm the one who purchased it." And he's like, "Oh," and he left. it's not that I want to be rude, friends. It's not that I'm uncooperative, although maybe sometimes it's just when people try to push me around and act like they're Nazis. I also understand, the argument, oh, well, aren't you glad we're protecting you? What if it was some criminal on your property and we asked him what he was doing? The problem is they never ask criminals what they're doing. The criminals always come in and bust up your house. If somebody's in there with breaking your window and crawling through a window, sure, you should be checking it out. But somebody sit down on a field, an empty field, and you ask them what they're doing, they say, well, they just purchased the property, and you just grill them, and then you're following them around and pulling them over for just parking at the park because their lights went off when they shut the engine off. That's just, I don't know. Things like that start happening in a town, and I start thinking, man, I don't know about this town. And then I realize, oh, I'm in the West, in a small town. There's no population around here, so it's like I can't get away from this. The United States is just gone. So anyway, friends, I thought I'd tell you about that. But what I was going to tell you today was this Scalia. Do you guys know what's going on? This is very important. Now, I don't know very much about this. I mean, it's probably what you know. They're not talking about it. All they're saying, the guy died. That's it, right? You might hear, I don't know what you've heard. There might be somebody saying something out there. I haven't seen it. I was watching Fox News and they didn't say anything. And they're supposed to be conservative, right? And he was a conservative judge. But here's the thing. This is what I do know. He died in Texas at this Marfia resort thing down by Bend National Park. Now, I don't know anything about that park. I don't know who promotes it. It's probably some conservative people because it's some sort of hunting lodge. And he was out hunting quail or some sort of birds or something. But, there could have been anybody there that could have poisoned him or done something. And since he's... the Democrats know that if they lose the election, the next president's going to appoint, I guess they say up to 2 or 3 judges. And that's going to change the whole power structure at the Supreme Court. So, I think it's pretty suspicious that this young man, he's 70, I think he's 75 or something, 76, I'm not sure. He was perfectly healthy. He was walking around hunting the day before. He had no signs of pain. Went to bed. He went to some party. They're not telling you what that was, and they said he went home early. They said that's kind of usual, but he didn't come to breakfast that morning. Say, oh, Dave, Well, friends, when somebody dies, a president or a Supreme Court judge, you need to do an autopsy and find out what happened, especially under these circumstances. And here's what happened. No autopsy. I guess it's the sheriff or somebody in authority in that county. They called her and said, the guy died. And she goes, okay. And she pronounced him dead. She'd never seen him. They never did an autopsy. Nobody ever saw him. They put him in a casket and whisked him off and declared him dead. And we don't know if there was poison in his veins or if there was a sign of gunshot or anything. Nobody saw him. And supposedly his family denied the autopsy. They said, you want an autopsy? And the family said, no. See, we don't know who the family is. Just because they're family doesn't mean that their immediate family or that they were actually conservatives or what, People who are really for a certain issue will even kill their own family, if need be, if they think it's that important. A lot of you don't realize it, but this Donald Trump has already said that if he becomes president, he's going to appoint a pro-choice Supreme Court seat. He's already said who's going to appoint. This woman that he says is pro-choice, not pro-life, pro-choice. Now, I think it's pretty amazing that he's got 40% of the vote going into South Carolina, and Trump or Ted Cruz only has 20. I don't know what's going on, friends, but here's what I want to tell you. This is proof that both sides, Democrat and Republican, are run by the same people. And their agenda is going to get done no matter what. And this is the proof. I'm just nobody. Little old David Vos out here in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico. I ain't got a pedigree. Never been involved in politics. Don't even belong to any religion. Yeah, I know I got people accusing me of making signs, but I'm not. Okay, I'm just me. I've never gone to a college. I didn't get out of high school. I went to the highest grade I ever went to was 6th grade. Never went to, junior high or high school or any kind of education. Never went to college. Have no degrees. Was not taught in any secret society. Never belonged to any societies. Never learned any handshakes, so I don't even know what they are. I've just seen people on TV doing stuff, but I don't do those things. I am not affiliated with anyone, friends, except for the Lord Jesus Christ. And even I can see that something went down and that Judge Scalia was murdered and they're covering it up. But here's the thing. If the Democrats did it, I wouldn't be surprised, right? But if they did it, then it's because they want a certain judge put in there because they're scared, because they don't want the Republicans, and that would indicate then that there's a Republican and Democrat and there's a war. But if that was the case, why isn't the Republicans crying foul play? Why aren't they saying, hey, he was murdered, let's get an autopsy? See, it's like the shot that's heard around the world. Boom. You shoot the president, and the whole world's going to know with it within 5 minutes of it being announced. The whole world. If you shoot a senator that has no power or authority and nobody knows, it might be a few hours before you hear about it, but if you just killed a senator that was going to make the deciding vote between Roe versus Wade and, or whatever, then it's important. This was probably the most conservative judge, the only one that cares about the Constitution. He was the one that would make dissenting votes and write these long, scathing papers about how everybody was against the Constitution and we got to go by strict constitutionalist views. And he was very, very, very pro-Constitution. You see, they've got to get rid of the Constitution, friends, or they can't take away your guns. And so they've got to pretend that there's one side on your side. Oh, the Republicans are trying to save it. They're trying to save. Well, then why don't they do anything in Congress? They've got control of the Senate and the House, and they're doing nothing. They're not opposing Obama, and they're just pretending that they're against it, but nobody ever does anything. And now this man was murdered, and they're not going to say anything. Honestly, as I said, friends, I don't know what's going on. But it strikes me as pretty odd that I was just looking at, before I came out here, I was just looking at that Fox News program, Outnumbered. And before that, I was watching some other program. I forgot what the name of that was, but they were talking about the election and how Trump was for pro-choice Supreme Court nomination. And I thought, my goodness, how in the world in South Carolina is he getting 40% of the vote? Now, I don't care. Like I said, I don't believe in Trump or Ted Cruz or any of them. But I'm just watching as to what they're doing. And it seems odd to me that those people who vote, and I don't know who they are because it's not me, it never was me. I don't know who's doing all these polls and stuff, who's answering the poll, but right now, according to their poll, the people that they're polling, 40% of them want Donald Trump. And yet he's pro-choice. And yet this is supposed to be the 50% of South Carolina that's conservative. This is not the Democrat poll. This is the Republican poll. So, really, do you really think that in South Carolina, the South, and the conservatives there are very conservative and they're very constitutional, you really believe that they would be voting for Donald Trump? Do you really believe that any sincere conservative who says he's for the Constitution and is worried about all of this, do you really think he wouldn't say, hey, why wasn't there an autopsy? Why are we covering this over? Why are we going to let this go? Friends, something's going on. Nobody mentions it on the outnumbered thing. There's like 4 or 5 girls and 1 guy on there, and none of them mentioned this about the autopsy. None of them said anything. Now, maybe I missed it. You guys let me know if they're talking about this, if anybody's brought this up. Oh, I wouldn't doubt if some guy on a radio show somewhere brings it up for 5 minutes. But the question is it going to get any actual attention? Is anybody going to really talk about this? Are we going to know what's going on? That they assassinated Judge Scalia. And now, okay, so Dave, you don't know that. All right, I don't know that. But all the evidence points to it. Why don't you do an investigation? Why didn't they just do an autopsy? Who's ever heard of some sheriff or whoever it was, the county clerk or whoever, they called her on the phone, she said, yeah, okay. And she pronounced him dead on the scene, and she'd never seen him. She never drove out there and looked at him. Nobody saw him. They stuck him in a coffin and whisked him away. This is a scandal. If this isn't, covered on the news somewhere, then this will prove to all of you, if you just think about it, that there is no Democratic and Republican Party. It is simply one group of people, the executives, the elite bankers, the corporate elite, who have decided that they don't want the court to go in a conservative way. They don't want the Constitution to be upheld. So they're taking out all the constitutionalists. And if they vote Trump in, evidently they're going to put a pro-choice or a pro-choice in. And pretty much that means somebody who doesn't believe in the Constitution. So it looks like that once they get that, 2017, they've got that sewed up, and they get their new judge in, maybe a year or 2 from now, they'll be able to run through this thing of trampling our Second Amendment right. See, they don't care how long it takes, friends. They've got time. Because it's not for them. They're not the ones doing it. They're all a bunch of puppets. They don't know what they're doing. They're just doing what they're told, or else they're not going to get voted in. They're told, well, you say what we say, or we won't give you any money to run next time, and you won't have this plushy apartment, and you won't have this plushy house, and all this stuff. You won't get any of your agenda. See, we'll let you do this and that. They told Obama, hey, we'll let you say something nice about Muslims, because we know that, you lived in Africa, and, you have Muslim friends. Your brother and your father was Muslim, and we'll let you, say nice things. That's his personal agenda. He's not a bad guy, except that he's just following orders. And everything else, he's saying, all right, I'll do what you say. Because as far as he's concerned, he don't care whether we have the Second Amendment or not. As long as he's president and gets a good grade, when he leaves, and he gets to put his picture up on the wall there. He's one of the presidents, and friends, we better do something. We better stand up, and we better start rattling the cage, because you see, they're carrying the cage out. We're in it. And we're just sitting in there like, our pacifier, and we're like, don't say nothing, don't rock the boat. But here's the problem. Once this cage gets out to the curb, we're going into compact. We're going to be crushed. So now's the time to start rattling that cage, because you've got about 5 minutes before you're going into the garbage disposal. You rattle that cage, you start screaming, you start banging on maybe somebody will hear you. You say, well, you ain't got no hope, don't even worry about it. I don't care. I'm going to start rattling that cage. Maybe by some chance the darn gate will come open, I'll run. Maybe somebody will hear me that's got some compassion. I'm going to bang and make noises and scream. Somebody's dragging me out by my feet to kill me. I'm not going to go quiet. Are you guys going to just lay down and just, all right, let's die. It's all right, nothing we can do about it. This is the Lord's will. We're all going to die. If this was the Lord's will, then why did he come and by divine manifest destiny give us the Constitution? He gave us a certain amendment that gives us the right to speak out. Use it. He gave us the right to bear arms. Use it while you got it. Because you're not going to have it much longer, friends. It's almost over. You've got just a very short time left. Now, I know that whatever happens, it's divine will. He's more powerful. You know. I know a lot of you say, oh, okay, well, that's great, Dad. I'm glad you said that, Dave, because now I'm not worried. And we'll just wait for the Lord to do something. He's going to work through us. Remember when Jesus came to the earth and he said, I do nothing except what I see my Father doing? And my Father has given me permission to do this, and so therefore I'm going to do it. I condemn you, Pharisees, publicly. You're hypocrites. And I'm going to tell people the truth, and I don't care if you kill me. Now that's what you've got to do. You're going to have to start going out there and getting the word out and telling people the truth, or we're done. Don't just be quiet. Don't go over in a corner and start sucking on your pacifier. Because, look, we don't have much time. We got to do what we see our Lord doing. Jesus did stuff, and he shook the cage, and he rattled the cage, and he spoke out quietly. He didn't kill anybody. He says we're supposed to turn the other cheek, be an example, show love. That's the best thing you can do, is go out and love people and tell them the truth and proclaim the good news. But if you're going to get deceived and start telling everybody, oh, remember the parable that Jesus gave? He says when he comes back, he's going to start taking account of the talents that he gave everybody. And for those who didn't do anything but went off and buried their talent, he's not going to be happy. You've got to do something with the goods of the kingdom, with the domestic goods, and make them multiply. You've got to go out there and spread the word. Give a little cup of water to one of these little ones. And then you've done it unto him if you've done that. Start clothing the naked, feeding the hungry, healing the sick. Because we're all sick and we need help. Jesus didn't say go under a hole in the rock and hide. Jesus said get out there and preach on the housetops, on a mountaintop with your light. Let it shine. Because you see, we're going to overcome by the word of our witnessing. We're not going to overcome by being quiet, by being scared they might kill us. We better not say nothing because they might come and put us in jail. Guess what? Putting you in jail is the least they can do. Taking your rights is going to be worse. So don't let them take your rights. You need to start standing up, whoever you are, wherever you are. Now, I'm doing this on this video, and it'll go out, and maybe 1,000 people are going to watch this. All right? Now, if just one of you will hear this and say, you know what, that's true, and I didn't know that, and get the word out. Maybe one of you've got a platform. Just any of you. If you don't have a platform, you know somebody does, get this information to them, that they've assassinated a constitutionalist. Get this word out, friends. We've got to tell the world. And we've got to do it now, or we're going to be gone soon. Our Father in heaven doesn't need us, per se. He can make the rocks cry out if that's what he has to do. But I hope, for the love of our Father in heaven, please, if there's any of you out there, you have an opportunity right now to exercise your love, to exercise your faith, and the power of the truth. Now go out there and exercise this. Do something to help people. I got light coming in over here. I'm sorry. We need you to do something now, friends. Because if the Lord has to make the rocks cry out, that could mean an earthquake or something. And that way, if it goes that far, if it happens like that, remember what's happened in the past. Sometimes the Lord has to just, if we allow things to go so far that the rocks have to cry out because we refuse to do it, it's not going to be good for us. I'm not saying that we're not all saved and Jesus doesn't love everybody, and you know what I teach about this. You know that the Bible teaches this, that he loves us all. One way or the other, he's going to get us all to heaven. He loves us and he's patient. But he's asking, Jesus said he wants to send us out into the field. And he asks, is there anybody? Come. Remember in the days of Israel, Elijah says, Lord, here I am, send me. And there in Isaiah, it says that he looked down and there wasn't even anyone on the earth that was willing to do anything. Nobody to stand in the gap. And so it says that the foundations of the earth were set in motion, and the mountains fell, and the valleys rose, and the sea came up, and is that what it's going to take? An absolute destruction of our society and another great tribulation that no one has ever seen before on the face of the earth? You know, I don't know, but I do believe this. No matter what happens, I do believe there's going to be a remnant, a group of people who are going to wake up. And as we wake up, we're going to spread the word, and we're going to help others. I do believe that when Christ was born on this earth, he was the birth of the kingdom, an embryo. And I believe that in our day, the kingdom is going to be born, and I think it's being born right now. And I know there's a lot of you out there that feel the stir within your soul, and you feel like something's happening, and you just, for the first time in your life, you're beginning to realize, oh, I get it, we've been deceived. So now it's time that we start waking up, and I think we can wake up, and I think we can make a difference. And I think we can at least, get the word out there so that others who want to know the truth can find it. So, friends, I'm going to go ahead and close there. I hope you guys will get this message out there to everybody. You don't have to use this video. Just go and tell people about this and make your own videos, or find someone who's got any kind of authority, a radio show, or if you can write to your senators and congressmen or something. But this is serious. They just assassinated maybe the last constitutionalist. It's very serious. So let's get the word out, friends. This here's David Vos, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. See you later.